Hello, my friends. This is Deepak again, and we are continuing our conversations with luminaries, influencers, friends, and family, and everybody who is making a difference in the world, helping us create a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world. And so today I have a very special guest. And my very special guest is Diane von Furstenberg. She needs no introduction. You'll see her bio, and we'll talk about her book in a few moments. But first of all, thank you, Diane, for joining me.
Thank you, Deepak. I'm so happy to see you always. Always. I
It's, it,
love you.
it's such a privilege to have you. I love you too. I think, for the sake of our audience, before we talk about the book, and congratulations, by the way, the book is out. It's been out
Thank
one
you.
week. We're going to talk about it. Our audience loves to know a little bit of history about the guests we have, where they grew up, what was their background, how they came to be who they are. So share a little bit about
All
going
right.
early.
So I think before I even start to talk about where I was born, I should talk about what I was born from, because it indicates it has so much meaning to the person that I became. So I'm going to take everybody to during the World War II, 1944, occupied Belgium. A young woman, aged 22, gets arrested. She gets arrested because she is, passing fake paper to the people who are hiding, and she gets caught. She is terrified that she's going to be tortured because, and to find out, who is in the resistance. So she tells them, no, no, I know nothing. I am Jewish. I'm hiding. And the woman says to her, don't say you're Jewish. But she did, and she got shipped into the concentration camp. She went to Auschwitz. She was in slave labor. She was working in a bullet factory. And then as the Germans were losing the war, she did the death march, the famous death march. She went to another camp called Ravensbrück, and yet another one. And 13 months later, the Germans left, then the Russian came, they raped everybody, then they left, and finally the American came. When the American found her, she weighed 49 pounds. She could not move. She absolutely could not move. But she had survived. She was shipped back to Belgium. Her parents could not believe that she had not died. Her mother fed her a little bit every 10 minutes, so gradually she gained weight. And the father, and 6 months later, her fiance came from Switzerland, and he said they got married. And the doctor told them, he said, it's fine, you get married, but you absolutely cannot have children for at least 3 years, because you will not make it and your child will not be normal. Well, sure enough, 9 months later, I was born, and I joked that I was not normal. And that was the story of my mother. So the fact that my birth was a complete miracle, that the survival of my mother was a miracle, that everything was completely, that I think has a lot of influence to the person that I am. My mother never wanted to be a victim. She always told me, fear is not an option. If I was afraid of the dark, she would lock me in the closet. Today she would go to jail. But then I realized that she made me fearless. I realized after 5 minutes that the dark doesn't stay dark. And even if it does, there's no reason to fear it. So my mother made me fearless. I was never allowed to complain, to blame, to shame. And that's how I was raised. So I grew up in Belgium. Um, I had a very nice childhood. I thought it was a little boring because Belgium, it rains a lot. I looked very different than everybody else. Everyone in my class had blonde, straight hair, and I had black, curly hair. So I felt different, but it was fine. And then my little brother was born 6 years later. My mother sent me to boarding school very quickly. I went to boarding school in Switzerland, in England. Then I went to university in Spain and in Switzerland. And in Switzerland, I met a very attractive young prince. He was a prince, half German, half Italian. And we fell in love. Then a little bit later, and then I went to Paris. I worked in Paris, then I worked in Italy. He went to England, he went to America, and I got pregnant, I got married, and I joined him in America. And that's when my grown-up life. So until I was 22, not much happened to me. And then when I was 22 is when I got pregnant, I got married in that order. I moved to America and I started my business.
And here you are, a luminary in the fashion world. I go to New
50
York.
years later.
I see everything on taxi cabs and all over the place. Diane von Furstenberg, a household name in the fashion business and also a pioneer. What would you say is the secret of your professional success?
The secret of my professional success is that, when you begin life and you don't have a vocation, any door can open and you don't know which door it is. My door was not a glamorous one. It was, I went to work for, first I worked quickly in Paris for a photographer's agent. So I was just an assistant, but that's where I discovered for the first time the world of fashion, the image of fashion. So it was about the models and the photographers and the magazine, the advertising agency, all of that. Then I met an Italian man who said, "You should come to me in Como, and you will see the other side of fashion where we make things." And so I went to Como, and in Como, this man had a printing factory because the Silk Road, the silk that came from China all the way to Afghanistan, India, Turkey, Venice, etc., ended up in Como. And Como is where the Italian silk weavers were. And this man would print for them. So I learned everything about printing, about color combination, about this, about that. But I still didn't think it would matter in my life at all. This man was a big bully, he would treat the employees terribly. So I was a little worried, afraid. But then he bought next door, there was another factory that was making hose, stockings. And they had gone out of business because after the discovery of the pantyhose. So this man bought the factory so that he could have more space. But in that factory, there was all these machines. And he said, "What could I do with these machines?" They were knitting machines. And so he called yarn manufacturers like DuPont and people who make the yarn. And using this machine, he discovered the jersey fabric. So then he started to print the jersey fabric. And so then my mother, that was my birthday. My mother gave me, for my birthday, she gave me a trip to go and visit my boyfriend in New York. So I went to New York for the first time and I went to visit him. So he was, I mean, I cannot tell you. Everybody loved him in New York because he was a young, good-looking, rich prince. So every girl wanted to marry him. So they were not at all happy when I came. But the designers, the young designers of the moment in New York, would dress me. And so I would go to their showroom, and I discovered what the fashion things were in New York. And then after 2 months, I had to go back to Europe, back to the factory. But I really, really wanted to come back to New York. And I thought, how can I find an excuse to go back? And then that time when I went back to the factory, all of a sudden I looked at what I had learned. I looked at the setup and I thought, this is what I could do. I am going to make samples of little dresses and I'm going to try to sell them in America. And that's what I did. So, oh, no. I forgot. So I started to make the samples, late when everybody would go home, I would stay with a sample maker. And then Egon was going to India, but on the way to India, he said, we meet in Rome. I said, okay. So we met in Rome, and in Rome, he gave me a ring and we got engaged. We had a party, and then he went to India. By the time he got to India, I discovered I was pregnant. So I was horrified. How can I do this? I cannot marry. Everybody's going to think I did it on purpose. So I sent him a telegram, don't worry, I'll take care of it. And he said, no. We get married mid-July in Paris, arrange everything. And that's how we got married. And so I went to my boss and I said, listen, I'm pregnant, I'm getting married, I'm moving to America. Will you please allow me to make some samples in your factory, and I will try to sell them in America? And that's how it started. I took the boat. I didn't want to take the plane because I wanted to go slowly into I wanted to go slowly into New York to think about my future. Of course, I was nauseous, so I didn't have time to think about anything. And I arrived in New York, and then I lived the American dream. I mean, my dresses became very successful very, very quickly. I started dressing everyone. I had 2 children in 1 year, and life never stopped since.
So as I listen to you, it's looks to me this is the perfect script for a romantic movie. What you just told me, and there's no way one could write this. This is the essence of our being. That we think we make plans, but we dream, and then somehow,
Intention.
intention, and the dreams then actualize into what we call everyday reality. So I know you've written other books. This is probably my favorite. I've been reading this since I got it for a week.
Oh, do you like it?
I love it.
I mentioned you. I mentioned you in it.
You're very kind to mention me. And recently I've been focusing in my, let's say, senior years. I've been thinking a lot about human values and even the mystery of our existence, even death. In fact, the last few years, I've been writing a lot about that. So I was very happy to see that you address
death. Yes, death is extremely close to me. I'm right now, I've been since a year in my house in the country. This is the house that I bought when I was 28 with the first money I made. And I am lucky. I have a big garden. I have a lot of land. And ever since my son was very little, every Saturday we would go on a walk and I say, where do you think I should be buried? Where do you think we should be buried? And it was always a conversation, where should we be buried? And first it was this place, and then I bought the other farm, and then it was this place. Anyway, a few years ago, I finally found out where was the spot that I was going to be buried. And we built this beautiful stone, like an amphitheater. And I walk there every single day. And it's funny because in the pandemic, the other day I was sitting there and I was laughing alone, thinking, oh my God, I have been visiting my grave more than anyone will ever come and see me. So death is very, very, I think of death every day and I always have. And people think it's spooky, but for me, it's not spooky. I don't like surprises. So I like to, so I think that if I think about death, then it won't surprise me.
Yeah, well, I don't think of death as anything other than an illusion. we are we're dying every moment. Every perception is born and dies every moment. Every thought is born, dies every moment. Our body is dying in order to stay alive. So death is not the opposite of life. Death is the opposite of birth, and life is the continuum of birth and death. Once we understand that, then we can see that that gravesite, when people visit that, you can say to them, where you are, I once was, and where I am, you will be too at some point.
Exactly. Exactly. No, and I think that, I think it's important to live death. I am not afraid of death. I hope I will live as long as I possibly can, but I know I'm going there, and it's fine. By the way, you and I are exactly the same age, so we are definitely at the sunset of our life. And the great advantage about being at the sunset of our lives is, first of all, that we have lived that long. So that's already acquired. And that we have accumulated so many memories and so many images and so many emotions and read so many books and discovered so many things that we are so rich in our memories. And at this point of my life, for me, the most important thing right now is to be able to use my voice, my experience, my knowledge, my resources, my connections for other women to be the women they want to be. Because I was lucky to become the woman I wanted to be when I was growing up.
Why this book? Tell us about the book.
All right. So first, this book was going to be, so when I was growing up, people would say, people always ask me, what did you want to be when you grow up? So I said, I didn't know what I wanted to be, but I knew the kind of woman I wanted to be. I wanted to be a woman in charge. That means that I wanted to be able to have a man's life in a woman's body. I wanted to be able to pay my bills and to be free. So I became that woman at age 28. And I became that woman because of a little dress. And because of the little dress made me famous and financially independent and all of that. So people would say, then, who do you dress for? Who do you design for? Who is your customer? And again, I would say, the woman in charge. And so in charge was always like the umbrella over me, myself, my brand, and everything. But I never really used it. 2 years ago for International Women's Day, I always do big events and I have discussions and panels, and the theme was in charge. And that's when I realized that when I say to be in charge, it could be misinterpreted, because what it really means is that to be in charge is a commitment to ourselves, is owning who we are. We own our imperfection, they become asset. We own our vulnerability, it becomes strength. And so I did a manifesto. I'm starting this movement. It's just at the beginning. I did little micro steps. And this publisher came to me and said, we would love you to do a small book on the in charge movement and explain what it is and explain your philosophy. And I said, okay. So I started to write. And first I wrote it as a normal book in prose. And my first sentence was going to be, we do not choose our parents, right? Because that's true. And it's a little bit provocative, and we do not choose our parents. So, but it forces you to own it, right? You have no choice. You cannot change your parents. So you have to own it with whether you like it or not. And then I started to do, and so but then I didn't like it as a prose. So I took a big book and I wrote alphabetically, but per letter, I picked all the words that speak to me and some words that don't speak to me. And I decided to write this book as a dictionary. And so, and every word, whether it's a definition, sometimes it's long, sometimes it's short, sometimes it's another anecdote, but it all links back to own it. Oh, because by then I had decided not to call the book In Charge, but call it Own It, The Secret to Life. And I want to say that you are, first of all, I mention you in the book. I think, I don't know which letter I mentioned you, but also I talk about the sutras, because you are the one who taught me about sutras. And I repeat the sutras that you gave me. You gave me, I think, 16 sutras. And every day of my life, ever since we met 26 years ago, I do these sutras. And you see, it's okay. So the book is like a dictionary, but then in between you have words, and these are supposed to be sutras, because sutras are ribbons, right? Are
Yes.
they supposed to be ribbons? Anyway, so you are all over this book, Deepak, and I want to take the opportunity that I can speak to your enormous audience to tell your audience what an important role you had in my life. 26 years ago, I was diagnosed with a tongue cancer. And I was, of course, very worried. And a friend of mine, Sandy Gallen, who's a very good friend with Deepak, said, I will introduce you to Deepak. So I guess we spoke on the phone. I don't even know if we had email then. But what I do remember is you came and visited me here in this house. I remember so well, you drove through the driveway and you came, and I think we stayed 2 days together. I don't know. I don't remember how long, but I remember the impact you had on me. And then I came to visit you in La Jolla 1 week before I did the treatment. I came with my daughter, and then I came back after the treatment for a week. But what I can always also remember is that during the 8 weeks of my treatment, you called me every single day. Now, I usually don't like advice. I usually don't like anything like that. But what impressed me with you was I have never met someone so sharp, so intelligent, and no matter what the question is, you always have an answer with 7 steps or with 5 steps. I mean, your mind is so sharp and so good, and I understand every single thing you say. So you were really, really helpful in my life. You taught me how to meditate. You taught me these sutras that I love and that I practice. And so I am so happy that I can thank you publicly.
I am speaking to the legendary Diane von Furstenberg. The book is Own It, The Secret of Life. So, because Diane just mentioned sutras, page 128. In Sanskrit, sutra means an aphorism or a rule. It also means a ribbon that links things together. Deepak Chopra taught me certain sutras to affirm and to practice. Sutras for peace, harmony, laughter, love, creativity, affluence, abundance, integration, truth, freedom, knowledge, infinity, immortality, enlightenment, and wholeness. So that's the summary of my life. I have to stop writing.
I'm going to take, I'm always questioning when you say holiness, did you mean wholeness or did you mean holiness? I never knew that.
So the word wholeness, the word holy, the word health,
Are
the
the
word
same.
healing are the same word.
Ah, okay.
Normally, when we speak about health, we mean physical health. But wholeness
Right.
means physical health, emotional health,
Okay.
spiritual health, business health, financial health, social health, community health, planetary health, universal health,
Right. So
wholeness. The
I
term is
have to
the
tell
memory of wholeness. Yeah.
I have to tell you, I love to swim, and my husband has a beautiful boat. So we spend about 4 months a year on the boat, and I go for a swim every morning, and I go really, really far in the sea. I swim like an old lady, but I swim for an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. And the little boat follows me from far, but he cannot make noise. And what I do when I swim, when I am in the incredible, I'm just a tiny little thing with the blue of the sky, the blue of the sea. I am no one. And what I do is I think about each one of those sutras for for a few minutes. I mean, I do these sutras one after the other. So it allows me to meditate, to move, whatever. By the time I finish all the sutras, I then do an entire visualization of the body and then I say thank you. I pray for my children, my grandchildren. And by the time I'm finished with all of that, I look at the little boat. I said, how long have I been on? And usually it's an hour and a half. And then I decide, do I go back on the boat or do I go another half hour?
So
So you have no idea how much presence of you is been in my life in the last 26 years.
you're very kind, but you said one thing in this whole thing, which you just was so inspirational. One thing was inaccurate, and that is, I swim like an old lady. You swim like a teenager. Okay.
No,
Many,
no, but I mean, I don't swim athletic. I swim like very much like that, but I could swim for a long, long time. Yes,
there's
I could
hope.
swim for
So
2 hours.
don't use
Yeah.
that word, old lady, please.
No, it's fine. I like it. I like to be
No,
an older woman. It's
one
nice.
can have the wisdom of experience and the biology of youth, and that's what you have.
Okay, so let's pick the word age. Age is the map of life, made of memories, stored images, emotions, and experiences. Aging needs to be celebrated every moment, every day, every year. Age is the proof of having lived. Living and loving our age is owning it.
I love that. That's wisdom, but the biology can still be youthful, and that's what you have, the wisdom
That's
of
right.
experience and the biology of youth. So I want
That's
to
right.
read something, awareness, which is my favorite word. Awareness is full presence and consciousness. It is knowing who we are, where we are, and noticing everything around us. It is seeing, hearing, feeling. Awareness is assessing the gratitude of being alive. It is making an accurate, honest assessment of where we are in our journey. As a young girl, I wanted to show that I was strong, so I did not smile much and acted tough. Later, I discovered that showing my vulnerability does not reveal weakness, and that a joyous laugh and a smile can show strength too. As I've become more aware, I felt more comfortable sharing who I was.
Why what?
So, this is the essence actually of my life. The whole purpose of existence is the expansion of awareness till we find out that who we are at the core of our being is infinite, formless awareness. Awareness doesn't have an age, it doesn't exist in time, it has no location, and yet that's who we are. Timeless
And
awareness.
for me, awareness is also gratitude.
Yes, 100%. Gratitude is what opens the door to abundance. In fact, we just did a study, by the way, where we took patients with chronic heart failure And one group was taking traditional medicine, digoxin, etc. The other group was keeping a gratitude journal as well. Those who kept a gratitude journal, all the inflammatory markers went down, inflammation went down, gene activity changed, and they did much better than people who were just taking the drug. So gratitude is, in fact, the door to abundance.
Gratitude is key. Oh, I'm so happy to do this with you, by the way. Let me just say what I said about blame.
Yes.
Blame is a word to ban from our vocabulary. When we blame, we give up power. Blaming is the opposite of owning it.
Let's not give away too much of the book. I want people to benefit from the book. All I can say, it's a masterpiece because, in a few pages, you covered life's most important levels. And I would say if somebody wants to get in touch with their soul, with their core being, this is the dictionary. So please.
But you were so instrumental. You were so instrumental in all of this. But then when you speak and when you teach and when I read your books, I always feel, oh yes, of course, I know that. But you have a way to explain it that is so clear. And you are just an incredible man, Deepak. I love you.
Okay,
I love
you. We should stop there. I love you too. The book is called Own It, The Secret to Life. And I would like to title this talk just that, Own It, The Secret to Life. But can we add another sentence? The magic and the mystery and the romance of existence. Can we
I
say?
like that.
Okay.
I like that. I like that. I've got to write that down. What did you say? The magic, the romance?
The magic, the mystery, and the romance of existence.
Okay.
We'll add that to the title and the subtitle here.
Okay,
And,
I will say. Okay.
if
Oh, by the way, you wrote me a wonderful quote. I don't know where it is. You wrote me a wonderful. Okay, we will add that.
Okay, and then I will get in touch with you about the gala that we're doing. It's for empowerment of women, so I'll be in touch with you on that.
Okay, thank you so much. I love you.
When I come back to New York, we have to meet.
Yes, absolutely. Send my love to your family.
I will, and you too.
Bye-bye. God bless you.
God bless, Diane.